Have you ever stopped to think about those subtle lines, those almost invisible lines that sort of shape how we interact with people every day, especially, at work? They're more than just being polite. They're really fundamental to trust. And today we're going to take a deep dive into just how vital they are, particularly in really sensitive professional settings.
Yeah, it might sound a bit abstract, invisible lines, but getting a handle on them is incredibly practical. Frankly, it's non-negotiable sometimes,
Right.
especially in places like healthcare and disability services. I mean, every single interaction there can have a huge impact on trust, on safety, on the quality of care. It's where the personal and professional, well, they naturally bump up against each other, which makes having clear boundaries absolutely essential.
Absolutely. And to help us really unpack this properly, we've pulled some really fascinating insights from an online training course. It's focused entirely on professional boundaries and care.
Hmm.
So we're not just summarizing it. We're using its really focused approach to pull out the key takeaways on this crucial topic for you.
Hmm. And our mission for this deep dive is pretty clear. We want to figure out what these professional boundaries really mean in practice. Why are they so fundamentally important for building that trust and making sure care is high quality and ethical? And how do they actually help build a more respectful, safer environment for everyone involved?
Okay, let's unpack this then. When we talk about these invisible lines, these professional boundaries, what are we really getting at? I mean, beyond just the simple definition, our source material defines them as the lines keeping work relationships respectful, ethical, and appropriate. But what's the sort of deeper layer there?
Well, what's really insightful from the material is just how easily these lines can get blurred,
Mhm.
often completely unintentionally.
Right.
It stresses that professional boundaries aren't just about stopping the really obvious problems. They're about making sure the focus always stays on the person being supported, preventing even subtle shifts in that dynamic. I mean, think about it. Something small, maybe well-intentioned, like accepting a personal gift from a client, that can create this tiny shift in the professional dynamic. Maybe a feeling of obligation or even a hint of favoritism, possibly leading to unseen conflicts of interest later on. It's understanding that slippery slope.
That's a really powerful point because it isn't always about bad intentions, is it? It's often those gray areas. So if you don't have those clear boundaries, what kind of risks are we actually talking about? It's not just like things getting messy, right?
Exactly. Without them, you risk misunderstandings that just chip away at trust. You get tricky ethical dilemmas where it's not clear what the right thing to do is. And you could even cause unintentional harm to the person you're supporting if, their needs get overshadowed because a professional line got blurred. The ultimate goal, and the course really emphasizes this, is to cultivate a truly boundary-aware culture in the workplace. And that's not just a buzzword.
Okay.
It's about being proactive, preventing issues, and fostering an environment where ethical behavior is just.
Well, it's just part of the daily routine.
A boundary-aware culture. That's a powerful vision. And it makes you wonder, how do organizations and individuals actually get there? And that's where our source material for this deep dive, this training course, offers some incredibly practical steps. It boils down complex ideas into useful skills.
And it manages to be really effective despite being quite concise. Because it's not just theory.
Right.
It's packed with vital info and, importantly, hands-on exercises. They're designed to make sure the learning actually sticks and you can apply it straight away. It's all about practical application, retaining those core principles.
And it's designed for pretty much anyone stepping into a care role, right? Whether you're brand new or you've been doing it for years. The insights seem crucial for everyone, new employees, long-term volunteers, contractors. For the newcomers, it builds that solid foundation. And for the experienced folks, it's a vital refresher, helps navigate maybe new challenges. Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, I think, for anyone working in care. What specific practical skills does this training actually give you? Because it's got to be about real-world situations, not just abstract ideas.
Yeah, it really helps people navigate those tricky gray areas. For instance, it doesn't just give you a generic definition of boundaries. It specifically talks about what they mean when you're deeply involved in someone's personal care. So it gives that tailored context for healthcare and disability services. It might clarify, for example, the subtle differences between, say, a physical therapist. Their role might need really strict adherence to plans and a certain professional distance, versus maybe a home support worker who's managing a much more personal, intimate care setting. It's about navigating the inherently personal side of care without it tipping over into a personal relationship.
That makes sense.
Then it goes into common situations. So teaching you to proactively spot those typical scenarios where boundaries are really key. Like imagine a client starts confiding really deeply about their personal finances, maybe, or starts asking you for rides outside of your professional duties. The course helps you spot these moments before they escalate.
Right. Before they become a bigger problem.
Exactly. And crucially, it teaches setting boundaries respectfully. Now, this is often the hardest part, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
How do you establish and maintain those boundaries firmly, but always with kindness, with respect? It's not about being harsh. It's about being clear and preserving dignity, yours and the client's. Finding that balance between warmth and appropriate professional distance.
Right.
It also spends time on spotting red flags, helping you develop an eye for those early warning signs of potential boundary issues, those high-risk situations. These are often subtle shifts, like a client becoming overly reliant on one staff member for emotional support that goes way beyond their role, or maybe persistent requests for personal contact outside work hours.
Got it. Those little things that can build up.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And perhaps most critically, knowing when to ask for help. Just understanding when and how to seek support if you're facing a tough boundary situation. That's a fundamental skill. It means you don't have to figure out every ethical dilemma all on your own. There are channels, there are resources available.
That's reassuring.
Yeah. And finally, it emphasizes building a boundary-aware culture. This teaches you how, as an individual, you can actively contribute to an environment where ethical, respectful interactions aren't just, expected, but they're the natural norm for everybody. It's about modeling the right behavior and feeling empowered to speak up safely if needed.
And what sounds really effective about how the course is designed is how it brings these ideas to life. You mentioned interactive case studies, practical activities. So you're applying these principles to real-life type situations, not just passively listening. It sounds like it's designed to help you really internalize it and apply it less like a lecture, more like guided practice.
Exactly. Making it stick.
So, okay, after diving into all these principles from the course material, what does this all mean for you listening, for your team, your organization? What's the tangible payoff here?
Well, for individuals, for your team members, really getting this means they'll be able to clearly understand the nuances of boundaries in care settings. They'll be more confident identifying those common boundary areas and spotting the red flags, and they'll be better equipped to effectively set and maintain boundaries respectfully. Plus, they'll know exactly when to reach out for support, which strengthens their own professional resilience, and they can actively promote that boundary-aware culture in their workplace.
Right. And then for the broader organization, this translates into some pretty significant benefit, doesn't it? You'd expect to see like a greater, more consistent awareness of ethical boundaries across the whole workforce.
Definitely.
Staff would have an improved ability to respectfully handle those tricky interactions, which means a more proactive approach to identifying and dealing with those subtle red flags and risky situations before they blow up. And all of that really adds up, I suppose, to a stronger, more ethical, and ultimately a more client-focused work environment overall.
Absolutely. A healthier environment for everyone.
Wow, what a deep dive this has been. It really hammers home that understanding professional boundaries isn't just about, ticking boxes or following rules. It's absolutely foundational for building trust and ensuring high-quality, ethical care interactions that respect everyone involved.
Couldn't agree more. And it's not just about preventing problems either. It's about actively creating that boundary-aware culture, one that empowers everyone, clients, caregivers, everyone, to thrive in an environment built on safety, respect, and integrity. It's about building stronger, more effective relationships at the end of the day.
So something to think about as you go about your day.
Yeah. How might these principles, setting and recognizing these invisible lines, ensuring respect, preventing those unintended entanglements, keeping focus, how might they apply not just in formal care settings, but maybe in strengthening trust and integrity in any close professional or perhaps even personal relationship that you navigate in your daily life? Something to mull over.